I recently had to experience something that scarred me for life. But what I did after was even crazier. The glass was already pressed to my lips when I spotted the unopened envelope poking from Blake's briefcase. My name, his handwriting, and the words, "Confirmed $2 million life policy." My pulse slammed. He was smiling, urging me to hydrate, babe, while pouring the water he'd fetched from the garage fridge. That same morning, his lawyer had called him. He didn't know I'd overheard every greedy word. The cold rim touched my teeth, but fury scorched hotter than thirst. I lowered the glass, hid my tremor, and decided right then that Blake would never taste a single penny of my death. But before we begin, let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. It was a sticky Thursday afternoon in suburban Ohio when my perfect-on-paper marriage finally shattered. I'm Melissa Carter, 43, history teacher by paycheck, but lifelong plot twister by instinct. Blake and I had just celebrated 13 years, China anniversary, if you're sentimental. He'd bought me lilies. I'd baked him his favorite bourbon pecan pie. From the outside, we were Gable and Lombard cute. Inside, a silent film of tiny betrayals, each one a flicker I pretended not to notice so our son, Ty, could finish 8th grade without drama. That afternoon, school let out early for a heat advisory. I swung by the insurance office to update my car policy, pure adulting boredom, when Jenna, the receptionist, chirped, "Oh, Melissa, congratulations on your new coverage." Blank stare. She turned her screen. My name glowed beside a 6-digit premium and Blake's signature. "He said it was a surprise," she added. "Surprise, all right." My knees wobbled like the bleachers at Friday night football. By 5 p.m., I'd hacked our joint email, downloaded every form Blake had tucked into a secret folder, and forwarded them to my own account labeled Plan Phoenix, because this bird wasn't dying today. You ever peel wallpaper and find mold that's been breeding for years? That's what scrolling those PDFs felt like. Turns out he'd been paying the premiums for 6 months, marking them as consulting fees in our budget spreadsheet. My stomach lurched. The man knew I ran marathons. A heart attack after a long run would look tidy. He handed me that very glass of water right after my 6-mile sunset jog. Sweat salted my eyes, but not enough to miss the bitter, almost metal smell wafting off the rim. "Electrolytes," he said, tapping the glass with a patronizing wink. My hand shook so hard I prayed he'd blame the usual post-run jitters. Instead, he cupped my elbow like a nurse and said, "Can't have you dropping dead on me." The irony would have been funny if it weren't murderous. I set the glass on the patio table, pretended to stretch, and texted my best friend, Alicia. SOS. Bring test strips. Alicia's a forensic chemist, quirky perk of college roommates. She arrived within 20 minutes, disguised as a neighbor borrowing sugar. While Blake grilled steaks, we dabbed a strip into the sweaty condensation sliding down that glass. The pad blushed bright purple. Cyanogenic glycoside, apple seed poison. Legal to buy, lethal in doses smaller than a teaspoon. I tasted pennies just reading the result. I wanted to scream, cry, throw the glass in his lying face. Instead, I squeezed out a giggle and kissed his cheek. "Babe, Ty's math night is tomorrow. Can you help with flashcards while I shower?" He beamed, oblivious. That smile, so square-jaw handsome once, now looked like a shark's advertising free dental work. At 2 a.m., I lay awake counting the ceiling cracks, planning. Ohio law. If a spouse dies within 2 years of a life insurance policy, payouts trigger a mandatory fraud investigation. That gave me 21 more months of potential peril. No, Melissa, you can't dodge a bullet for nearly 2 years. Better to fire first. The next morning, Friday, 6:15, robin chatter outside, coffee aroma soothing memories of my mom's farmhouse kitchen, I walked into Bank First and opened a new account in my maiden name. Nostalgia flashed. Mom's flour-dusted hands teaching me to balance a checkbook the summer I turned 12. Funny how ordinary moments become shields later. By 8 a.m., every cent of my personal savings had migrated. Joint savings would take finesse. Blake left for work whistling. I followed 10 minutes later, but turned toward the county courthouse. Protection order petition. Filed. I didn't list poison. Yet. Instead, credible threat, financial coercion, electronic surveillance. The clerk eyed me like I was oversharing. Let her. Paper trails are future lifelines. Alicia called noon sharp. Got the lab confirmation. Level could paralyze in minutes. I thanked her, voice steady, heart pounding so loud I missed the principal calling from Ty's school. Science fair deadline extension. Life's mundane rhythms ticking while your world burns. You know that feeling, right? Saturday dawned humid. Blake suggested a family picnic by the lake. He packed chicken salad sandwiches, extra bottles of that special sports drink. I feigned cramps. You two go. I'll grade essays. He half smirked, disappointed but not deterred. Predators prefer controlled environments. By Sunday, I had Alicia's cousin, a private investigator, tailing Blake. Monday delivered the first reversal. Photos of Blake meeting an unfamiliar brunette at Randall Insurance. Caption: Beneficiary update? My breath froze. My husband was replacing me. The policy was officially double-edged, worthless alive, inconvenient dead. Tuesday, 9 p.m. Thunderstorm booming. I cornered him in our dim garage. Funny thing, Blake, I ran into Jenna at Insurance Plus. He flicked on the workbench light, sweat beading along his hairline despite the cool night. Jenna who? Amateur liar. The one who processed the life insurance paperwork, I said. His pupils shrank to pinpricks. Oh, that. Honey, it's an investment. I lifted the poisoned water glass, now sealed in an evidence bag. Some investment. He lunged, maybe to grab the bag, maybe to choke me. I'll never know. I stepped back, clicked the garage door opener. Lights sprayed the driveway, revealing Deputy Sanchez. My earlier 911 request, domestic threat, please stand by, had them on cue. Blake froze. Handcuffs gleamed like karma. But here's the curveball life threw me. The policy itself wasn't illegal. Plot to murder me? That's harder to prove without me actually dead. Prosecutor advised, build the fraud case, so I did. Enter reversal 2. I quietly sold my half of our house to a trust in Alicia's name for $1. Ohio marital asset rules nodded politely. Blake made bail Thursday, strutted home to discover a rental sign on the lawn, and the locks changed. His roar echoed down Maple Street. Reversal 3 arrived the following Monday. His employer suspended him. Turns out, applying poison to a spouse violates the company's moral turpitude clause. Next, I drained the joint account. Ohio law again. If one spouse is under investigation for domestic violence, the other can secure assets for dependents. Ty's college fund trebled overnight. Blake's credit cards? Frozen like January puddles. Yet even iron plans leak. 2 weeks later, I woke to Ty shouting. Blake was in the driveway, tossing my childhood piano into a rented dumpster, my late grandma's 1904 upright. The restraining order hearing wasn't until the next day. I broke, sobbing, screaming, fists useless against police protocol that required imminent physical threat before arresting him again. Vulnerability dip, check. The next phase began with a ticking clock. Blake's policy contestability period lapsed in 12 days. If he could prove marital reconciliation, payout scrutiny would vanish. So he accelerated. Wednesday, he texted, "Let's talk before lawyers ruin us." Dinner? I agreed. Alicia wired me with a mic, PI parked outside. Blake chose La Trattoria. White tablecloths, candlelight, all faux nostalgia. He offered roses, apologized, and suggested a second honeymoon to rebuild trust. I pictured metal rims, bitter water. Sounds lovely, I said, sliding my phone to record him. I asked about Sandra. He stumbled. then confessed she was insurance advice. One push. Did you tell her I'm terminal? He nodded, eyes glittering greed. That was enough. Thursday morning, detectives met me at the station. Sandra's tape plus my recordings built probable cause for attempted insurance fraud and solicitation of felony assault. They arrested him during his lunch break. Reversal 4. Public humiliation in the cafeteria he once strutted like a king. Court Friday, standing room only. Prosecutor unveiled emails where Blake asked a darknet supplier about untraceable bittering agents. His face blanched. Bail denied. Civil court followed. I sued for punitive damages, citing emotional distress, attempted poisoning, and asset dissipation. Judge froze every one of his accounts, including the policy refund once it was voided. 3 months later, final hearing. Blake lost his freedom and his finances. Felony fraud conviction, 5-year sentence, plus restitution equal to the policy's face value deposited into a trust for ties education and domestic violence nonprofits. Double loss. Professional license revoked. Personal wealth gone. On sentencing day, October 14th, golden maple leaves skittered across the courthouse steps like confetti from the universe. I pulled the original insurance policy from my purse, shredded it into 1,000,000 saffron pieces, and let the wind scatter them. Ty snapped a photo, my silhouette against a storm of meaningless contracts. I turned to the gathered advocates and whispered, "A husband's greed can't bury a woman's grit." I walked away, lighter than air, humming Grandma's ragtime tune. I rose from ashes. He choked on his own smoke. I believe stories like this find us for a reason. If this one touched you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day, and tomorrow's might be the one your heart's been waiting for.